Okay, so we are, what is it, 8 lines from the beginning of this Ois Hey. 7 lines. That begins loin. We're talking about the way the inyonim of the koiches are to be understood. Lamaila, admus hakisei. That lamaila admus hakisei, there is admus hakisei, there is dmus k'mari odom. This dmus k'mari odom, this is not atzmus ein sof. And we say ein ledmus, ein leguf, ein ledmus haguf. And we explained briefly that this negation of guf and musaguf refers to 2 levels in oilams. The musaguf that refers to biyah, and guf refers to atzilus. None of these is to atzmus ein sof. So we'll start right after this parenthesis on that line. That this does not, guf and musaguf is not referring to atzmus ein sof. Kiyim, rather only beho'oiris v'giluyim de'ein sof. That which is nizgala of ein sof, shenimshach bes sphirot atzilus. That of Ayin Soif that is nimshach, that is brought in through the sphirot atzilus. This is where we talk about guf on the musaguf. But above that, there is none of that. V'gam ba'atzilus. Okay, can I continue? V'gam ba'atzilus. And even in atzilus, even though in atzilus we are saying the principle of guf or tmusa guf, in other words, there is a structure, but that is only even atzilus. In atzilus, those inyonim are l'mayla m'chinas hagbala, are beyond any kind of boundary, any kind of limitation. This is quite challenging. You're saying that there are 10 koiches or 10 spheres, and it's without limit. How can it be 10 spheres without a boundary? Ukinoide, and as it's known, the S is sphere atzilus. And the 10 sphirot of atzilus, ein sof lispashtusam. There is no end, there is no boundary lispashtusam to their spreading forth. It is not correct to say that they are present here and not there. V'nikro gamkein es sphirot b'lima. They're also referred to, that's in severity, as sphirot blima, 10 spheres blima, without a what? We already went through this before Yom Tov. Without a description. If there is no description, so what is this 10 demarcation? Okay, this is Sefer Yitzira, and as it says in Sefer Yitzira, Midasan Eser Shein Lohem Soif. Midasan means they are measured. Is 10. But this 10, this measure is 10 that we do not have a soif, that do not have an end. So as I said in the onset, this is a challenge for us to relate to. To understand this fully is impossible because this is sphirot atzilus. But at least to understand what we mean by this and what is the point of making that statement? There is 10 and without an end. What is the significance of those combining these two in Yoni? Midoson, this is the Sefer Yitzira. Midoson, yes, it's in Soif. On one hand, you say Midoson. This is their measure. That's what Midah means. But say that Ein Lahem Soif, we do not have an end. And I said, we want to, not to understand that, but what is the point made by this? Shegam k'moi shehein bebchinas midah v'shiur de'eser, which means to say that even as these spheres are within that realm that can be referred to as midah v'shiur, a measurement. A midah means a qualifier, a shiur and a measure of 10, bebchinas mehusim yuchad, and they, in the sense of being mehusim yuchadim, or being unique and separate qualities, mehusim, presences. Each thing is present on its own. Harei hey bibchinas ein soif. Even in that stage and in that state, they are bibchinas ein soif. They have the quality of ein soif. As is described and it's discussed elsewhere. Okay, so this is ein soif, 10 spheres. Und wir kommen jetzt still, harei hein bibchinas tziur odom. At the same time, their presence represents a tziur odom, a form of odom. What is the form of odom? The form of odom, tziur odom, is beyond the very presence of the koiches. Tziur means a form, which means that every part has its own place. Not just functionality, its own place. A tzir means in a tzir, every part has its own distinct location. Chesed, dreyo yimina, as we say, that chesed is in the right arm. Gevurah, dreyo smola. The gevurah is the left arm. Chochma is moicha. Chochem is in meich. Bebechinas hislapshus oir bikli, implying that the oir is actually mislabesh, is imbued in the kli. This is the meaning that there are individual locations for these koiches. Hislapshus oir bikli. A few more words and then we'll discuss it a little bit. Sheho'oir bo bibchinas tfiso behakli. That the oir is actually in the state, bibchinas tfiso, grasp in the keli. So let us reflect so far on what we have learned. It's already discussed earlier in the moshel on the human level, here lamata. The human being has a right arm and a left arm, and the functionalities of the two are quite clearly demarcated. What we are saying now, they can be demarcated on the functional level, but they're still under a single control tower, so to speak, and control source. It is only that we could view, we said, that on the control level, I need to do two different things. and I assign this function here and this function here. That is just a random assignment. So we're saying this is not what actually is taking place. The koiches themselves, the ability to do what the right hand is doing, is predefined before it even goes into the right hand. It is defined prior to the assignment of its functionality. In other words, I have to write. I can write with my right hand, I write with my left hand. I choose to write with my right hand. So essentially, the demarcation there between this function and this function is on the execution level. So we say, no, the whole concept of writing, the whole sense that it is possible to write, it pre-exists in the koiches hanefesh quite distinctly, and that pre-existing koyach is clearly assigned into a particular kelim, particular location, before the demand for its functionality, for the action. I do not have to decide, okay, I'm going to write, with which hand am I going to write? There is no such question at all. Because the very concept of the ability to write is already predefined, and it already belongs in the right hand, because that koyach is in the right hand. Even at this level, even in the human level that we have discussed, it also is quite challenging for us to see it and to understand it this way. Because from a worldly perspective, and in our day it is extremely challenging and extremely important to understand, the whole phenomenon of writing is part of the process of training. And it materializes only when its function becomes necessary, identified. Because we see the human being from a physical perspective. The hand per se does not have, in a physical structure, physical presence, does not have the quality for writing, whether the right hand or the left hand or the foot. So how does it happen? The demand forces us to train ourselves and to do these functions. And ultimately, we are doing it with the physical body is what does it. Unfortunately, there are such views, and there is such an approach, such a theory. And we totally and categorically reject that. When we write, it is the koyach hanefesh that is writing through the hand. This concept of writing, the concept of an action, exists on the purely nefesh level, and then it is reduced, so to speak, to a tzimtzum, and it is imbued and it is identified individually. Each function identified individually, and then imbued in individual aver. I want to go just a step further so we can understand what the confusion is and what the challenges are here and how significant this is. From a worldly perspective, the human being has no particular purpose of being there. And anything that I do is only in reaction to the circumstance. Listen, I need to eat, so I have to prepare food for myself. And from that need, develop all the various functionalities, all the way to the fanciest and most intricate concepts, machineries, and so forth. So we reject that perspective completely, because Odom was created intentionally. So Odom. It's in God's plan. Let us make Odom. And what will be Odom? Odom will not be an entity walking on earth, eating and sleeping, just like the cat. Odom will be an entity who will recognize the whole world as his platform, and recognize his function and his purpose in it, and readily accept the mission of humanize the world, of develop the world. Why? Because that is his godly mission. And therefore, since that to develop the world you cannot develop by looking at it and by saying, I want it to be this way. You actually have to relate to it and get hold of it and direct it in one way or another. And in the world, there are 4 different directions in addition to the up and down. And you have to relate to all these 6 dimensions individually. That is Odom. On the inception level, that is Odom. Therefore, the presence of Odom in the world consists of X number of koiches. Not a presence that can react to certain circumstances. It consists of X number of koiches.
How did you make that jump? Sorry.
This is his point in being here.
To be able to relate to the entire world on an individual, in a detailed level.
And detailed level.
And that requires a finite number of koiches?
That requires a specific koiches. Because you cannot, as I said, you cannot affect the world by wanting it to be, by saying it should be. You have to actually go and take the subject and move it.
Mm-hmm. And those 600, those koiches represent the entire world, basically.
Those koiches are right. Those koiches are sufficient to affect the entire world. Those koiches represent the human reality. So when you have a right arm, this is not of a secondary level. Okay, I have such and such a function, I have such and such a desire, so I assign it to my right hand. No. This is how it is designed to start with. Because The human function is actually drawn and demanded not by his body but by his soul. The body, we understand why the body needs function, because the body cannot survive without feeding itself. The soul doesn't have to feed itself. So what does it need koiches for? The soul has koiches because it has a mission. And ultimately, human action is based on the soul mission rather than on the body necessities.
When we brought out that man in the world consists of X number of faculties, this kind of defined number, and it sounded like that's almost on account of the fact that the world has these 6 dimensions, 4 and up and down.
Right.
Okay. And that's not to say, well, that is to say, man is being sent into a body in a physical, into the world of time and space, and so we're going to give defined faculties to address the world. That's, yeah.
I don't always direction your
it would seem that man has an element of infinity. So this that he has these defined faculties.
Okay, 1 second. Simultaneous to that, he has an element of infinity. The infinity element is that there is nothing that escapes him. Nothing that's beyond his reach. But when he reaches it, he wants to reach it on a pnimistic manner, not just by wishing it so, but actually transforming it.
So he reaches it, and to make it pnimi, it has to be within these kind of.
But then, right, you have to relate individually to everything.
Which means lefi according to these defined faculties.
Right, like I've been pointed out, when you move a cup, you can move the cup by pushing it. No. I move the cup. I can relate to this function specifically. Because the action of movement in my hand is not an inadvertent action. It's an action that is under the control of my intellect, and it is very, very focused. I move this cup not because I don't like the place where it is. It's disturbing me. I move it because this is where it belongs.
That's almost like saying he's doing something infinite using finite faculties.
Exactly right.
Okay.
The Yidden, when they built the Beis Hamikdash, they built every little piece of it and all the little processes, and then when they were finished, it was a house for the infinite.
That's right. Look at the Mishkan, how it's described in the Torah to such detail. Right? An engineering feat. And who is presenting that engineering design? The creator of the world. The source of the soul. This is the second call, right? Okay, I just want to best is. Sheyesh l'chol oyer keli miyuchedes. Each oyer has a unique keli. Shelifi'efun kozehu ha'oyer, where the oyer is measured and designed according to the keli, according to the contours of the keli, so that the oyer could be imbued into the keli.
Can I ask what an oil is, so be able to follow the whole thing?
The kli ha'chochma, hu keli le'oyer ha'chochma dafka. The keli of chochma. In the brain, there are different compartments. There's one compartment that is on the is a receptacle for chochma. Another compartment that is a receptacle for bina, and they are designed suchly.
That's
Thusly.
the brain.
That the kli ha'chochma is suitable for the oyer ha'chochma, and the kli ha'bina, l'oyer ha'bina dafka. Dafka. You say, why? This is oyer, this is light, this is neshama nefesh. And this is guf. They're in two different worlds. Within the nefesh itself, the koiches are so defined that they relate to this kind of keli and this kind of keli. Although this is really part of nefesh. And here's where we interrupt. Have a great day.
This is all in the category of noisy quickness, right?
No.
Really takes a pull deep, huh?
To
No,
remain
this is
on
not
this call,
Nissan.
press
This is-
1.
This is koil koiches. This is koiches mislabish in the group individually.
Color colors is the one that has the shape of.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at the same time, we're trying to reveal the human element, which is the idea of Neisei Keiches, which is a Ha'ara.
We're trying to go deep into the neshama, though. That's what Paltiel was about to do. That's really where it begins, right?
Ki da stando